You're watching Capital City Sunday.
Good morning. This week on Capital City Sunday.
Really want to find out what went wrong so we can prevent it from happening in the future.
The Wisconsin Elections Commission voted to launch an immediate investigation into nearly 200 ballots that went uncounted during the November election. Wisconsin Elections Commission Chair Ann Jacobs joining me to discuss how the probe could impact future election procedures.
Race we had, which I think most people remember, was a $50 million race and clearly fought along partisan lines.
And as the focus shifts to a critical race that could change the ideology of the state's highest court, I talk with former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Janine Geske on how this could impact which issues come before the court this year. Thank you for joining us. I'm Darrielle Fair. On Thursday, the Wisconsin Elections Commission voted unanimously to use its authority to launch an immediate investigation into how 193 ballots went uncounted in Madison in the November general election. During that vote, Ann Jacobs, a Democratic appointee and chair of the commission, asked if members of the commission have the authority to conduct an investigation, in which all 6 members voted to approve the probe. On December 26, the Madison Clerk's Office issued a public statement disclosing the ballots from wards 56, 65, and 68 had not been processed. Those ballots were discovered on November 12th and December 3rd during post-election cleanup and reconciliation. According to a memo issued by the commission, the clerk's office emailed the commission on December 18th to bring awareness to those uncounted ballots and for additional guidance nearly 3 weeks after the commission certified the election.
My concern here is not with the magnitude, although the magnitude is significant. The issue is, why was this not determined or caught by the time of either the local canvass or the county canvass? Knowing what little we do know, is my assumption is either there was a failure to follow procedures, or our procedures aren't good enough and we have to correct them.
Commissioner Marge Botzelman, a Republican appointee, said missteps happen, but her greatest concern is to provide guidance that ensures the issue does not happen again.
I'm not looking at this as a punishment or something we need to investigate. We need it because of a wrongdoing. We need to investigate it to make sure it goes smooth in the future.
Here with me this morning is Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Ann Jacobs. Commissioner Jacobs, thank you so much for joining us.
Delighted to be here.
On Thursday, the commission voted unanimously to move forward with its investigation. Can you walk us through that process and what municipal agencies will likely be involved in this investigation?
Sure. The investigation arises out of about 193 ballots that the city of Madison failed to include in their vote counting for the November 2024 election. Those ballots were apparently discovered sometime after the election, with one group of ballots being discovered as not having been included in the tally about a week after the election, and the other apparently several weeks after. And so the investigation is hoping to get some answers on why were they not included in the original vote tally, what were the processes involved that allowed for that to happen, and what can we do in the future to prevent it from happening to both this municipality and to other municipalities across the state.
Commissioner Jacobs, if the commission's probe finds that Madison Clerk Mary Beth Witzelbell failed to follow the proper procedures during the election, what happens next?
We can issue some orders to not do it again, or to engage in specific conduct designed to prevent it from happening in the future. And that's really the focus, is that this is remedial in the sense of we really want to find out what went wrong so we can prevent it from happening in the future.
And this review will be the agency's first formal investigation since the commission was formed in 2016. What does that say about the more than 190 ballots that were not counted in this year's general election?
Well, I think the real issue is that the commission was not notified about this until the very end of December of this year. And so we don't have that information and transparency we've had when other things have gone awry in elections. Most commonly, when mistakes occur, we are contacted immediately, and then we assist those municipalities in fixing what can be fixed or documenting what needs to be documented so that we can protect the legitimacy of the vote counting process. And because none of that really happened, we're asking to do this investigation so that we can understand better what happened.
During the commission's meeting on Thursday, Commissioner Don Millis raised concerns about the timing in which the commission was notified about these missing ballots. As you just did earlier in the conversation, he said that this could be an indicator that the commission's procedures aren't good enough or may need to be corrected. First, I want to get your thoughts on those comments, and I also would like to know, how could these findings in this investigation change the commission's procedures for future elections?
Well, I think that, Don's comments are well taken, because it's incumbent on us as the final arbiters of the state's canvass, meaning I as chair certified this election and am the final determinant of the number of votes. So it is essential that we make sure that the commission itself is doing all that it can to ensure a correct count. And I think some self-reflection is important in situations like this. It can't only be a blame game or the like. We need to understand what went wrong. So if it's something that we can change in our own procedures, we certainly should be doing that. I don't get that impression from the initial information we have, but if it is, we absolutely need to address it.
And Commissioner Jacobs, while the commission has confirmed those 193 uncounted ballots would not have changed the results of any elections or referendums, election security efforts were a major part of the Republican Party's campaign. How does the commission plan to mitigate concerns around the integrity of Wisconsin's elections moving forward?
Well, I think that it's important to recognize that while fortunately those 193 ballots didn't affect any election, we have an election coming up in February and in April. And in those spring elections, it is not uncommon for a race to be decided by a matter of a couple hundred votes. So I think we absolutely did the right thing by starting an investigation immediately. This was the first day after the holidays we could meet, and we took advantage of that so that our investigation and our plans to mitigate this or prevent this from happening in the future can be in place by the time we've got other elections where we might not be so lucky.
Final question, Commissioner Jacobs. If you ultimately have to change procedures going forward, could those changes be implemented before the February and April elections this year? My true hope is that we learn enough about what happened so that we are able to issue guidance to our 1,850 municipal clerks across the state so that they can implement best practices to avoid this sort of situation. Commissioner Bostelman mentioned that in her comments during the meeting, that she felt that was very important. Certainly, if the commission itself needs to change what we're doing, I'm confident that that sort of action, if needed, would take place as soon as we figure that out. Wisconsin Elections Commissioner Ann Jacobs. Commissioner Jacobs, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.